The first graders have their story opening. Let's plan our actions, actions, actions till the story's done. So we had our story opening, done. Now we need our actions. So we make a line. We say, what happened next after the bunny was hiding under the tree? And then we're going to come up with our next idea. We'll draw a picture here of what that would look like. So let's say the bunny ran to his hole. So after a while, he ran to his hole. So he ran inside there. Notice I'm drawing a picture of the idea. We're going to go back and we're going to say the whole idea. What happened next? The bunny hid under the tree. Then I point to the picture here for the kids to come up with a sentence, and sometimes they'll just stare at me. So let's say this is the bunny here jumping into his hole. And they just stare at me, and I want them to form the sentence. If I give them the sentence, it's not going to help them. So what I do is I say, who's doing the action? So watch this. As we plan this, I'm helping them form the sentence by giving them this thinking. Who's doing the action in this picture? The bunny. You know what? My bunny's a boy. We can't keep saying bunny, bunny, bunny. Let's say he. Ready? He. What did he do here? He jumped into his hole. We have a sentence. So I'm giving the prompts. Who's doing the action? What are they doing? And it forms a sentence. The bunny hid under the tree. He jumped in his hole. You know what? Let's add, and then we draw a little line here if we want to add a transition, a transitional word or a transitional signpost word, or if we just want to write the word he. Whatever the beginning word is of that sentence, we want to put on that line. Let's go ahead and what happened? Did the bunny just stay there forever? Did the bunny, after a while, jump in the hole? Did the bunny just suddenly jump in the hole? Ooh, let's use the word suddenly. So now we go back and we're going to add that starter word. And we put that on the line here. Suddenly, he jumped into his hole. And we put our period. We go back, and again, when we're planning our story, we're going to say, what happened next after he jumped in his hole? He's jumped into his hole. We want to say, what happened next? So notice that I'm going and I'm adding that prompt again to sequence. What happened next after he jumped in his hole? So I'm asking the kids for ideas. They all talk to each other. They turn to each other. They come up with ideas. What would happen when he jumped inside his hole? And sometimes it's tough for kids to come up with ideas. So what you can do is you could have them make it interesting. So if I have kids who are all talking to each other, but I don't hear many ideas, then I'll say, let's make it interesting. And I have emotion cards. And you'll see later when we actually go through these specific steps of writing stories and information in those chapters, the narrative writing chapter, the informational explanatory or expository writing chapter, and opinion chapter, you'll see we have all kinds of tools. I'm just going to add this in here for you to see. If your kids can't come up with an idea, then make it interesting. Have someone pick a card. Uh-oh. Something happened that made the bunny mad. We say, what happened next after the bunny jumped in the hole? Something made him mad. Was someone in the hole that made him mad? Did he do something? Did he see something that made him mad? What made him mad? Then they all talk to each other. They come up with an idea. I many times will have sticks with each child's name on it, so I can pick a stick, and just whoever's name I pick, they'll tell their idea. We pick a stick, somebody tells us why the bunny is mad. And he's mad because when he jumped in the hole, he landed on his nose. Okay, what do we do after we come up with the idea? We draw a picture of it. So here's the bunny mad. He landed on his nose. And that's just such a great art project, huh? There's his nose. Ouch. So notice I'm just drawing a picture for the idea. Now we're going to go back and reread it to form the sentence by rereading the whole story. The bunny hid under a tree. Suddenly, he jumped in his hole. Who's doing the action here? The bunny. The bunny, what happened? He landed on his nose. Let's go back. And let's figure out if we want to have a transition word here Or we could just use the word the. The bunny landed on his nose. You know what? Let's make it interesting. Let's use the transition word, a sound effect. What would the sound effect be if you landed on your nose? Splat! So we wrote our beginning word here. Splat! He landed on his nose. And now we have our period there. And we can go back and put commas after our transitions. It just really depends on what level the kids are at. We ask our next question again to sequence because we're not done with our story. So we say, what happened next after he landed on his nose? If the kids, they turn to each other, they all try to come up with ideas by talking to their buddies. If they can't come up with an idea, what do? We pick another emotion card. But I can't have the mad card in there. Once I use an emotion, it's discarded. And now we pick a new emotion. And we continue this and drawing each action in the story until it's done. And this just naturally will end. So maybe I may say something like, you know what, let's have a happy ending. Let's end the story now. So what could we do to end this story? His mother gave him a kiss. Oh, and he felt better. Look at this. So his mom came along and gave him a hug and a kiss, and he felt better. We reread our story. The bunny hid under a tree. Suddenly, he jumped in a hole. Splat! He landed on his nose and was mad. We go over here. Who's doing the action? His mother. His mother came up and gave him a kiss. How do we start that sentence? Just with the word his. Or, Mommy Bunny gave him a kiss and he felt better. Ooh, let's start that with Mommy. So we start our sentence off and then we say it and we put our period. Our story's done. I don't need any more of that butcher paper. How many sentences do I have in my story? I have a story opening, 1, and then my actions, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 sentences. This is the planning of a narrative. Each day after, the students, different students will come up to the whiteboard and they'll be writing 1 sentence from this plan. So I need, let's say 3 days we spent planning this. Now I need 1, 2, 3, 4 days, 1 sentence per day in order to write out this story. And we write it on the whiteboard and then it's transferred into a big book page. So when I'm making this big book, I'm going to need 5 pages, a cover, and then I need 1, 2, 3, 4 for the inside of the big book.